Hey guys, welcome back to school. I hope you had a great Christmas break. I'm sorry I can't be there with you today, but I'm in California and I'm just helping out my parents. My mom's sick right now, so I'm out here helping. So if you can remember to pray for her, I'd really appreciate it. So Mr. Anderson, my husband, will be there with you this week and he'll be overseeing the class. So please give him a lot of respect and give each other a lot of respect. And so you can profit from this week. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We will be looking at lesson 6.2, multiplication using rational numbers. And if you remember, rational numbers are all terminating numbers. So numbers like 2/3, 0.675, 5, -1/2, 1973, -3.7, all numbers that terminate are rational numbers. And we will be multiplying them together. Today you're going to be doing 1 through 11 odd, 21 through 25 odd, 28, 30, 35, 38. And then you can find my video, this video, on YouTube later at Kiki1326 at that channel. Okay, and just look up this title. You can review this video later today. So everybody please open their books to lesson 6.2 on page 226 and look in the middle of the book there and it'll say multiplying rational numbers in that table there. To multiply two rational numbers, multiply the first numerator times the second numerator and the first denominator times the second denominator. Express the product or the answer in lowest terms. Now, if you look at this example I put on the board here, we have 3/5 times 2/3, multiplying two rational numbers. And it says multiply the first numerators, the first and second numerators together. So you have your first numerator and your second numerator. You're going to multiply those together. And then you'll multiply your first and second denominator together to get a product. So 3 times 2 is 6. 5 times 3 is 15. And we need to express that in lowest terms. So a common factor there is 3, so we're going to divide both these numbers by 3 to reduce 6/15. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 15 divided by 3 is 5, and that's expressed in its lowest terms. Now, for this second example that I just came up with, I have a negative rational number here. And I'm going to multiply a negative times a positive. What do we get when we multiply a negative number times a positive number? We get another negative number. So we know our answer is going to be negative, okay? And so this time, instead of multiplying straight across our numerators, who sees here what we can do in order to simplify this problem? If you guys notice here, we can cross cancel these two 3's. Okay, so they cancel out because they're the same number and they become 1 basically. So we have 1 and 1. So our new problem is -1/5 times 2/1, and that gives us a more simple problem. We can multiply our numerators together and multiply our denominators together straight across. 1 times 2 is 2, and 5 times 1 is 5. But we have to remember this negative sign, because remember, a negative times a positive is a negative. So negative. So the last example I want to look at before we jump into the lesson is when we're working with exponents. Remember, our exponent lets us know how many times we're going to multiply what's inside that parentheses. It's letting us know that we need to multiply 2/3 3 times. So again, this exponent lets us know how many times we multiply this number. So we multiply 2/3 3 times. Okay, so just write it out 3 times like that. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can write it out like this. with that times sign like that, okay? And then again, you're going to multiply your denominators together. So 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And then you're going to multiply your denominators together. 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. And your answer, your product, is 8/27. That cannot be reduced anymore. So let's take a look at 1 through 11 odd of your homework assignment. And I will go through some of these with you. So let's take a look at number 1. Again, if we go through these a little quick here in class, this video will be available when you get home later tonight to view. So let's look at number 1. 1/3 times 4/7. You are going to multiply your first numerator times your second numerator. 1 times 4 is 4 in your numerator spot. And then you're going to multiply your two denominators together. 3 times 7 is 21. How about number 3? Go ahead and multiply your numerators together. 5 times 1 is 5. And multiply your denominators together. 6 times 5 is 30. And it looks like 5/30 can be reduced because both numbers can be divided by 5. So let's divide the numerator by 5 and the denominator by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 30 divided by 5 is 6. So 1/6. Let me go ahead and switch markers. You guys know how much I love when my markers don't work. Anyway, so let's take a look at number 5. Our numerators are 2 and 3. We're going to multiply across. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiply our denominators. 3 times 8 is 24. Now it looks like this can be reduced as well. So both can be divided by 6. So we'll go ahead and divide numerator and denominator by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So we end up with 1/4 for number 5. For 7, 9, and 11, I'm going to help you with number 7 and 9, and I'm going to let you guys do 11 on your own, okay? So when we have a mixed number here, we're going to turn this into an improper fraction. So our new multiplication problem is going to be 1/2 times, you're going to multiply the whole number of 3 times your denominator, which is 24. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 5 is 29. And then your denominator always stays the same, okay? So again, now we're going to multiply our numerators together and our denominators together. 1 times 29 is 29. 2 times 8 is 16, and that cannot be reduced. You can turn it back to a mixed number, but the book just has it as 29/16, okay? So here we have 4/5 times 2 1/3. 4/5 will stay the same, but you will need to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction. So multiply your whole number of 2 times your denominator, which is 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and our denominator always stays the same. Let's go ahead and multiply across. 4 times 7 is 28. 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, and that cannot be reduced, so it stays at 28/15. So right now I want you guys to go ahead and try number 11 on your own. Remember to turn these mixed numbers into improper fractions, okay? So I'll give you guys a minute to do that on your own. So go ahead and work on that. Okay, so Mr. Anderson, if you want, you can pause the video and have a student work this problem out on the board, and you can let them know if they are correct or not. Okay, so let's take a look at numbers 21, 23, and 25. So we'll go ahead and just multiply our numbers together. You don't necessarily need this 0 here when you're going to multiply. A little trick is that when you're going to multiply anything times 1 or anything times 1 or 100 like this, you're going to basically get the same integers. So I am going to get 185, 185, and 2. It's just where is that decimal point going to go? And the trick is you'll just want to count your decimal places. 1, 2, 3. Go to the end of this whole number and move 1, 2, and 3. Plot your decimal, and that's your answer. Now you can go ahead and work this whole problem out and get the same answer, but that's just a little trick. So go ahead and multiply that out to confirm that that is your answer. Next one, again, I'm going to end up getting these integers in my answer because I'm multiplying it times 1 or 100. So let's go ahead for this one. We'll go ahead and multiply this out so you can see what we're doing here. I'm going to multiply 0 times all these numbers. I'm going to get 0. I'm going to multiply this next 0 times, and put my placeholder, 0 times all these numbers and get 0. Put my next placeholder, 1 times all these numbers, get that. I'm going to add all these together. And now I'm going to count my decimals back. So I got 1, or my decimal spaces here. So 1, and that's how I know where this decimal goes. So my answer is 4,520, whole number of 4,520. Here we're going to multiply our fractions again. So we're just going to multiply our numerators all together. 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is what? You guys know it's 9. 2 times 4 is 8. And 8 times 8 is 64. And I believe that cannot be reduced. Okay, so I'm going to start number 28 and you're going to finish number 28, okay? So here we have a mixed number times a whole number times a mixed number. And I want you guys to turn those mixed numbers into improper fractions. And remember that 4 there in the middle can also be looked at as 4 divided by 1, 4 over 1. Okay, so let's change these mixed numbers into improper fractions. I'm going to take our whole number of 3 and multiply it times our denominator, which is 3 times 8 is 24, and we're going to add the 1 to get our new numerator, which is 25. Again, 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25, and then our denominator stays the same. Okay, and then we're going to have times 4, or 4 over 1, times our whole number of 2 times our denominator is 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Now, that's all I'm going to give you. And I'm going to have you guys work on that for a minute, okay? I'm going to throw out some hints though. So when you cross multiply numbers, you can cross with your commutative property of multiplication. You can move any of these around that you want to. And so one of the hints I want to show you before you just multiply these numerators across, because you can multiply all your numerators, that's going to be a big number. And then you can multiply all your denominators together. 8 times 5 is 40. So that's going to be an easier one than multiplying all those. But what I see here, here's a little hint, is that you can cross multiply 5 and 25. See that? And then also, where's my blue marker? You can cross multiply, or I'm sorry, not cross multiply, cross cancel. Okay, because 5 goes into 25. You can cross cancel here 8 and 4, and you can also cross cancel 8 and 12 because those also have common factors. So, well, my marker's not doing so well. Okay, so go ahead and give that one a try. So I'll go ahead and give you guys about a minute here, and then Mr. Anderson, you can pause the video and have a different student go to the board and see if they can come up with the correct answer. Again, you guys can multiply all the numerators across and get your numerator. You can multiply your denominators across and get your denominator. Or you can make your life a little easier here and cross cancel some of these numbers. Okay, number 30. Again, we're looking at an exponent of 3, and that exponent will tell us how many times we are going to multiply what's in our parentheses. So we are going to multiply -4/7 3 times. So go ahead and write it out. And first of all, I want you to look at how many negative signs do we have? We have 3 negative signs. That's an odd number. So we know our answer is going to be negative. Okay, if we had an even number of negatives, our answer would be positive, but we don't. We have an odd number. 3 negatives will get a negative answer. So you are going to multiply all the numerators together. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. And you're going to multiply the denominators together. 7 times 7 is 49. And 49 times 7 is, I don't know it off the top of my head. 9 times 7 is 63. And 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 6 is 34. So we get 343 in our denominator spot. And remember, our answer is going to be negative. So negative 64 343rds as our answer. For these last 2 problems, I'm going to let you guys try these on your own. Looking at this first one, we have a order of operations problem where you are going to, according to PEMDAS, you're going to do what's in parentheses first. You're going to subtract 7.6 minus 6.7, and then when you get that answer, you're going to multiply it times 4.2. Okay, so go ahead and try that problem. When you get to number 38, there's nothing to work out in this parentheses. It's just the number negative 3.1. So you're going to multiply this positive 3 times a negative 3.1. So you could set up your problem like this. 3.1 times 3. Okay? And then when you multiply a positive times a negative, you're going to get a negative answer. Okay, that's my hint for you there. So, Mr. Anderson, if you could have somebody different, a different student, try number 35 on the board, and then a different student, try number 38 on the board, and I will provide Mr. Anderson with the answers so you guys can check your work. So go ahead and I'll give you guys a minute to work these out, and then Mr. Anderson choose different students to work these problems out on the board. And then if there's any time left over, you guys sit quietly and use this time as a study hall. Okay?